Now, turning our attention overseas, Israel. Ceasefire and conflict updates. The facts. In the Middle East, Israel and Hamas are navigating a tenuous ceasefire after a brutal 15-month war in Gaza. Recent mediation efforts have produced a breakthrough of sorts, an agreement in principle to swap Palestinian prisoners for the bodies of Israeli hostages killed during the conflict. According to sources close to the talks, the proposed deal would see Israel releasing hundreds of Palestinian prisoners in exchange for Hamas returning the remains of Israelis taken hostage. This development follows the end of active combat in Gaza, where a ceasefire halted the fighting that had raged since Hamas' deadly October 2023 attack and the subsequent Israeli military campaign. With Gaza quieter, Israel's focus has shifted to the West Bank, where it has launched security operations in refugee camps like Jenin. Just this week, Israel sent tanks into the West Bank for the first time in over 20 years to target militant groups, an escalation that underscores ongoing tensions. The humanitarian situation there is deteriorating. The World Health Organization reports a sharp rise in violence and attacks on healthcare in the West Bank. Ambulances have been impeded by checkpoints, and dozens of healthcare workers and patients have been killed or injured since the war began. At least 40,000 Palestinians have fled their homes in the northern West Bank in the past month amid these military raids. Globally, these events are being watched closely. The United States and other powers are involved in the diplomacy to free hostages and ease humanitarian suffering, even as they reaffirm Israel's right to defend itself. Liberal and international perspectives put more weight on the humanitarian implications and the pursuit of peace. Many on the left welcome the ceasefire and hostage deal as a much-needed reprieve for civilians. The potential exchange, returning victims' remains to Israel and releasing Palestinians who've been imprisoned, often for years, is seen as a step toward easing the immense human suffering on both sides. Progressive commentators emphasize the scale of the humanitarian crisis. The war in Gaza displaced large portions of the population, and now military operations in the West Bank are displacing thousands more. Images of ambulances halted at checkpoints and reports of patients dying while waiting for care have galvanized calls for restraint. Human rights organizations and many Democrats urge the Israeli government to protect innocent lives and abide by international law. They express alarm at Israeli settlement, expansions, and the aggressive raids in the West Bank, fearing these actions could fuel a broader conflict. Globally, there is sympathy for ordinary Palestinians caught in the crossfire. For instance, the United Nations and EU have warned against collective punishment and called for renewed efforts toward a political solution. Liberal voices often advocate for a two-state solution and argue that lasting security for Israel is tied to justice for Palestinians. Within Israel, the left-leaning opposition and peace activists echo these sentiments, supporting prisoner exchanges as a gesture that could build trust. They also point out the international impact. Unrest in the Holy Land can destabilize the region and draw in actors like Iran, so de-escalation is crucial. In summary, The liberal view supports the ceasefire and humanitarian deals, urging empathy and diplomatic solutions, and cautions that Israel's heavy-handed tactics might undermine the long-term goal of peace. Now to Europe.